Before we get into the topic of discussion today, just wanted to start it off with a brief description about myself. My name is Priscilla Selvin, and I am working currently as a business manager at Regalix Inc., an internet and marketing firm. I have about 5 years of experience in marketing and advertising. I've been associated with the past with one of India's leading software services company as with if social media is a good strategy for us to incorporate into our marketing mix. So to begin with, what is social media? I'm sure a lot of you would have heard of vision, etc. To give you a brief example of this, I have a video that you could probably watch on YouTube called The Breakup. You might not be able to catch the video quality because a loyal relationship at the end of the day with the customers that we want to speak to. Now, keeping this in mind, there are key things that we need to consider for developing a social media strategy. And one of the things is to listen to our customers. The first thing we need to derive for a social media strategy is to listen to what the customers say, what they're talking about, and then try and understand how we can develop and engage in a dialogue with them. She would be able to accomplish them and showcase them as being successful would differ. As you can see here, improving brand reputation and awareness is probably more easy using social media as a channel as opposed to increasing search engine rank using that channel. Now, once you have decided your objective and you know the audience that you are catering to, the next thing that you would have to keep in mind is the channel. Now, each channel has its own strengths and weaknesses. Each channel has its own value proposition. Wikipedia is probably the #1 reference in terms of WordPress, Typepad, Blogspot. So get to the details in terms of the nitty-gritty of the channel or the technology that you decide upon. The other thing that you would also want to keep in mind when deciding the channel is the demographic profile of users. Use technology is very easy for them to adapt to. Now here is an example conducted by Forrester of the content consumption habits of technology decision makers in the B2B space. Now what you can see here is that 91% of these technology decision makers were spectators. This means used these days while measuring social media success. Now, once you've defined your metrics, your channel, your audience, your objective, the last and probably the final thing that you would want to keep in mind is to define a social media calendar. Now, like every relationship that you are an integral part of, there are two things that you would want to keep or pay attention to. One is consistency in the communication that is shared and have their presence across multiple channels. Now, I would bring your attention to today, since we are pressed for time, is to look at Starbucks. Now, Starbucks began its social media engagement with an online portal called mystarbucksidea.com. Now, this was from Starbucks who have used social media. Zappos, like we spoke about earlier, is another organization where their main channel of focus is on Twitter. Now, they have a site that's been created on called twitter.zappos.com, which primarily to social media. was primarily the lack of knowledgeable staff, and then you also had the inability to measure ROI. While not Now, a couple of findings from this research is that companies that are both deeply and widely engaged in social media surpass their peers in terms of both revenue and profit. In fact, Mavens have sustained will serve as a demand generation source for marketers both in the B2B and the B2C space. So I hope that you would also end up leading social media successfully.